Okay, hello everybody. Welcome to the first episode of the Survivor at UCLA Season 4 Moral Dilemma After Show. I'm here today with Cameron, Vince, and Evan. If you guys want to go introduce yourselves and talk a little bit about where you are now after the season. Who wants to go first? Okay,
I'll go
Cameron.
start.
Cameron, go first.
I'll
Hi,
start with.
Cameron.
I'm Cameron Bowles. I was a contestant. I graduated UCLA last year. It's now 2025. I am currently in law school, which is keeping me very busy and excited to watch this season.
Now, Vince, what about you?
Yeah, hey, I'm Vince. Graduated in 2023. And right now I'm still in LA. And I'm working at this agency in Los Angeles that helps with giving kids mental health services and adoption services in LA County. So it's going really well. I'm doing like data analysis for them, which was my major was statistics, and this is like right after the fires, so just trying to recover from everything.
Yeah, definitely. Evan.
Yeah, I was the host for season 4. I also graduated in 23 and I live in New York now, so I'm out other coast.
All right.
Excited to get into it.
Yay. Okay. Awesome. That's so interesting. That's such like a dove profession, Vince. And you're on the subject. But people change, right? That's what the whole season's about. Okay.
That's right.
So yeah, let's jump right into it. So a lot happens in the first episode. Obviously I have some snakes here in Evan, the host, because we don't get a ton from the Dove tribe in this first episode. So yeah, I want to jump right into like the theme of the season, moral dilemma, doves and snakes. I mean, Evan asks it on the mat, but like in retrospect, right? Like what was the like moment when you're like, "Oh, we're the snakes tribe." Like, how did that like set the tone for how you felt like you were going to play the game?
I think it was just the funniest part was we all really were, bonding, liked each other. It's like, oh, we're all nice people. We were trying to guess what the theme was, and we had like maybe it would be like a heroes villains thing. We didn't know. And as soon as Evan says the purple tribe's the dove tribe, I just start dying laughing because I know that means we're gonna be painted as the more villainous tribe. And when they said snakes, I was like, all right, cool. I'm with some very competitive people, which means I have an uphill battle.
Yeah, Vince, when you guys were like getting to know each other like before the twist reveal, do you feel like you like would have guessed that you guys would have been the more cunning tribe, or do you think you would have guessed the other way?
I wasn't really. I mean, if you had told me beforehand that it was going to be Moral Dilemma, I probably would have suspected we were going to be like the villain slash snake tribe. Like I think I like right off the bat, just from getting to know people, I could tell there's a lot of people who were just here to play, and like a lot of people who were kind of like not really giving out a lot of information right at the beginning. Like especially when we were just like meeting each other for the first time, there was a lot of people that were very guarded and like trying to not say too much. So I thought that people were probably pretty strategic.
Yeah, I mean, right off the bat, like half the tribe took the clue. And Evan, so you and I played a big role in casting this season also. Do you think like
Yeah.
did you anticipate that? Like, or I don't know, because I don't think I did. I think I was
No,
surprised.
yeah, I think I was like so I love that twist I did for the first episode. I think that's one of my favorites we've done. But like I was so nervous about it because I was like, if this flops and it's like the Doves, this season doesn't make sense
Right.
if they take all the advantage. I remember I was sitting there like sweating bullets. It's like the Slack in our Slack chat. Everyone's texting like, okay, like Cam just took it. We're at one each tribe, kind of thing. So um yeah, I think it was a really fun start to the season just to reaffirm like we're not just like making up crap. Like, no, you guys are the snake.
Right. No, I remember because I was filming the advantage like situation for the Doves. And I remember just being like so surprised by how many people actually turned it down. I was like, oh my God, we actually casted the season well. Like we actually like these people actually were like, it's okay. Like,
Yeah, that was probably the first moment where I knew like this is really the snakes. Like when it was 7-4, it's like, oh shit.
yeah.
Yeah, I was actually surprised how that we were able to cast the Dove tribe too, because I think that's
I think, harder to do. I mean, everyone's like, I'm gonna backstab, but the fact that we had a large number of people who were like, of course I would never turn on my friends. I was like, we can make this theme work for the
Yeah,
season and prove
no,
that.
I
So
agree because everyone's like, yeah, like I'm gonna play hard, blah blah. And then we actually had a lot of people who are like, I'm gonna be loyal. It's so interesting to like go back after the season also and look at what people like said about those kinds of questions on the application and like who actually adhered to like what they wanted to do. Um, but I think one of the like very defining moments of the episode is like, okay, you guys lose immunity, and we'll go back to the challenge. But you're standing in a circle and it's like, okay, empty your pockets, and everyone starts like dumping out their pockets, and right, we know who doesn't have it, right? Because like three people have already given it up. But I know, Vince, there was a moment where you were like, here, take my jacket if you want it, like I don't have it. Did you feel like there was like pressure, like a target to like not be the one who had it?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I think like tensions were running really high. Like you don't really know how much the paranoia sets in until like you're going to tribal council. And I was really surprised by how quickly it set in, and like everyone was just kind of like scrambling to like empty their pockets and stuff. And yeah, I was like freaking out. And I thought it was really interesting actually that like perfect with the theme of moral dilemma, that like it was kind of like the people who chose to like get the advantage for their hopefully get the advantage for their tribe, or like the ones kind of being outed for maybe having the clue. So I kind of, in true moral dilemma fashion, it kind of flipped back on the people who chose to be loyal to their tribe.
Mm, that's so interesting. I never thought about it like that. Evan, we did so well. We did so well.
something like that.
And Cameron Imon has this really great confessional, like right after this whole situation airs, where he's like, that was really smart of Cameron. It repositions the paranoia off of, oh, like I just lost the challenge, to now instead, who has the clue, right? Because everyone knew that you didn't have it. And now you're like recentering the attention on not, oh, I messed up the challenge. Instead, the focus is, okay, who took the clue? Who has the clue to the idol? Was that intentional, or is that just like a happy, oh, no one's looking at me anymore?
I'd love to claim credit, but no, I think just my thinking was, okay, an idol is a threat, and so we should try and target someone who has an idol.
Hmm.
And there were five people who potentially had it. And so that was like my sole thinking. So I wish I could say I was like trying to die. I didn't even think like I would be, potentially for messing up a puzzle, because it was a tough puzzle. And it's also a puzzle. So I wish I could claim, but yeah, it's kind of funny.
I
And
think
I also am not the one that had the idea. It was Lena's idea. I just was the one that was maybe being a bit forward about
Yeah, right.
people doing
mm,
stuff.
I think like those are the best moments though, where like you do something and then you're able to be like, oh, well, this also had other merits. Like, if you waste an idol, you can be like, well, now everyone knows I don't have an idol anymore, right? Like you can spin it however you want. But I do want to go back to the challenge. I remember watching that challenge and just like dying laughing, like the pairs, the people who are like together and they're blindfolded. And Nia has this great confessional where she's like, I don't like being blindfolded. And people are like clutching each other and like stumbling through. And in reality, you're going like 10 steps forward, right? Like, let's be clear, it was not a large field. And then it comes down to this puzzle, right? Where everyone's trying to look. And Cameron, you said it was your idea to go and like look at the
Oh
other
yeah.
tribes,
Oh
right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's just as soon as I knew that, the mats were next to each other before the challenge even started, I was like, okay, this is something I want to do. And I made sure it was okay to do. And originally it was just supposed to be Izzy doing it so that, it wasn't like too obvious, or so that we weren't wasting time. But then I also started doing it.
Mm.
And maybe we lost a little time because of that, but I don't regret it. And it's not even like a snaky thing, maybe just because on the Snakes tribe, that's something. But I think if you have a chance to do that, you should. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Evan, we hadn't really seen that before. I feel like that wasn't something we were anticipating at all.
No, I've never seen because it definitely threw off the other tribe. Like usually if someone's copying your puzzle, you just zone them out. Here they start like flipping over the pieces and they're just like moving around blank pieces. I'm like, what are you guys? You don't have those memorized. What are you doing? Those because we did a trial run of the challenge a couple nights before, and obviously nothing like that happened.
Yeah.
which I like found some photos in my camera roll of like it was super muddy that night. So those like exercise balls had gotten super muddy, so I had to roll them up the hill afterwards and like shower them off in my shower for the challenge.
No, I
But it was a
remember that.
really,
It
really
like
fun challenge.
it ruined my shoes walking in the mud. It was horrible.
I know
Um,
everyone's like blindfolded. I was like, guys, we have to do this.
right.
I don't think it turned out
No,
well.
it was great. I think also, yeah, like even when we see the Dove tribe like flipping their tiles back over to reveal the right answer, like all the letters are facing the wrong way. Like they were not like aware of what they were doing. And honestly, like if you guys had been able to pull out the win and like if anything because of that, like it definitely was a good tactic because like Evan said, they literally had to like adjust the way that they were approaching the challenge, or maybe not had to, but they chose to.
And it
We
was very
were
close. You guys
we
had
were
the like
30
non
seconds away.
blanking like you guys pretty
Yeah.
much had it.
Yeah, word scrambles are often close, I would say, for sure. Okay, so then you guys lose. You empty your pockets, and now we're heading into like tribal council zone, and like there's a lot that happens in these first couple days, and I think that's true usually for the first part of the game, regardless, right? Because you want to like set yourself up going forwards. But I love some of the like confessionals in this segment, like the one that cracks me up the most is like it cuts to you, Cameron, and it's like there are people I would rather work with than Iman. Like I thought that was so funny. Like there's just a whole segment about like who doesn't want to work with Iman, but like the way you said it just took me out. Like I thought it was so funny. But yeah, talk a little bit about like your thoughts on like the alliances and stuff, and then we'll cut to you, Vince, because you have a whole alliance forming already at this point.
Yeah, I think for me in the first part of the game, it was like I didn't want to come off as like over like playing too hard. And so it's like you're trying to balance, talking to people and not over talking to people. I try to prioritize meeting people in person. You don't really see that, but I try to do that and met with pretty much everyone. And I just was most worried about Iman at that point because I was like, this is a very sociable person, like really great person. But I was worried about him potentially making it far in the game and that I could see that he had a snakish side to him too. So I was like, okay. And he was who I suspected most having an idol. So those were kind of red flags for me with Iman.
Yeah, I mean, you can tell usually, right, when someone has a lot of energy, usually those are the kinds of people that people do gravitate towards in one way or another, right? Either as like someone to target or as like a shield to hide behind, right? And so to get someone like that out early definitely has its merits. Vince, we see you in this alliance, though, kind of ends up like with Iman, and then you also have this thing going on with Mia and Lucas. Like there's a lot of different moving pieces here. What was your like perspective on like the best course of action at that point in the game?
I mean, that was just really just like as soon as that challenge ended, it was really everyone like scrambling to find their footing. And I remember, yeah, like I think we see a clip in the episode of us in the car. And that's like like if you ask like Lucas, Nia, or Iman, like, oh, like what's the Survivor car ride? They will know, they'll know immediately like that was it. Like even before that episode was shown. Like that was like kind of a really big moment, and that was that was us driving home from the challenge. So like that was just like immediately as soon as the challenge done, like we kind of already had the comings of an alliance starting to come together, and like really it's just kind of just trying to get a sense of like where everyone's at and talking to everyone, and like I know I spoke to in addition to those people, I spoke to Annika, spoke to Lena, and like it's just really just trying to get a sense of where everyone's at.
Yeah, I mean, day one, in a lot of ways, can play a big role. You know, you might feel immediately drawn to the people that you just end up leaving the filming with. And especially, in a situation where there isn't really that much time before tribal council, like, you don't really know where things are going to go. I think something that's really interesting about, like, the two of you is, like, you kind of played the game, and this is one of my favorite meta of the game to talk about, so I apologize. But the pace of the game, right? Like Vince, you're right away, like you're in an alliance, like you're talking to people, and Cameron, you're more working like 101. You are like thinking more about you don't want to play too hard too fast. And like it's definitely interesting to like see like the balance of those approaches and those perceptions. Um but Evan, I don't really remember, so maybe you remember, but I don't think the boot was like decided immediately. Like I think we watched it unfold as the days like happened, like who was gonna go home. I don't think it was clear cut right from the start.
Yeah, I think the edit captured pretty well was those three names. I think it kind of fluctuated as the week went on. But I think that's also because the conversation was so prolonged. So I think from that, maybe I'm totally reading it wrong. People saw how into it everyone was, and that's why it ended up being. Am I allowed to say who the name? If it's the after show?
Yeah,
Okay,
it's
you
the
just said
after show.
it was
The
so
after
ominous. It was so ominous. I don't know. So yeah, I think that might be why Izzy did end up going home because the talks were so long, and from that it just became clear her heart's not in the game. I don't know, but that was maybe my outsider perspective.
Yeah, I mean, we see in the episode, she even talks about it. She's like, I don't have time. Like, which I don't know. Like, it definitely ends up making sense, right, in the episode of like why it ends up being Izzy, but without like saying, too much. Do you think there would have been merits to like going a different direction at that point, or do you think the tribe unity was worth it? Without saying too much.
Not saying too much. No, I mean it's definitely interesting just knowing the three names. It's like, well, I can think the three different directions the game could have gone. With that, I think it's definitely like it was an interesting first boot because it's a first boot that was kind of built around like tribe loyalty in a sense because everyone was on the same page and no one was willing to rock the boat when it's like when everyone on that tribe knew from the get-go this was not going to be a tribe about tribe loyalty or like anyone having each other's back. So I did think it was that interesting in that regard.
Well, yeah, and Evan, you get the episode title there, actually. I don't know if you caught
Oh, I
that. That's
do?
you. Yeah, it's you. You say at Tribal, you say you want to get snaked tonight, and then she does go home. Um, so definitely a little bit of comedy there. But yeah, at Tribal Council, Izzy is like essentially asking for the tribe to like play more snakily. And Cameron, she kind of calls you out as one of those other people who like gave up the clue, right? Of like, they should be coming for us. And Evan's like, so you're painting a target on your own back and Karen's back and Lucas's back. And she's kind of like, no. But like in that moment, did you kind of have a reaction of like, hold on, like,
Yeah, it was a weird comment, and I understand it now because, like, okay, it's a guaranteed. You don't have to worry about an idol, and I feel like maybe she obviously voted for me too, so I think maybe there was something there, like she didn't vibe with me for some reason. I'm not exactly sure, but I was like, okay, that's like not a comment that really is making me feel great. So
yeah, there goes your perfect game right off the bat, right?
yeah.
Like, damn, it's over. Never want to see your name that early. Um, Vince, for you, do you feel like as someone who didn't give up the clue at Tribal at that point, you were still like trying to dodge allegations, or do you feel like at that point it had kind of settled who people thought probably had it?
It was certainly that way at the beginning. I think by tribal, I think we were kind of came together a lot more, and like it was kind of more of a just a like kind of it was clear who we were going to vote for and like the main options that were out there. And I don't think there was a lot of paranoia in that vote regarding who had the idol. Um, but something that was really interesting actually was the like it wasn't really shown too much, but the four of us, like Nia, Lucas, and Iman, we really kind of when we came together, we really wanted to get out someone who was in the other four people on the tribe so that we could have like like a four-person majority. So that was kind of one of the factors that played into it too, as well as like Izzy not really like having too much time to play and not really wanting to be there as much. Like one of the other factors was that it would give us the majority in the tribe, so that went into the decision as well.
Yeah, there's also some talk in the episode about this alliance between Annika and Lena, the Parvati and Amanda, if you will, of the season, right? As Annika proclaims.
Lena's like, yeah,
Which,
what?
yeah, no, that made me giggle. Lena's like, right, like she has no clue. Um, but yeah, I mean, I think it's definitely interesting because like I don't know. There are a lot of different ways that you can take it. You can go for the person who doesn't want to be there, or you can use them as an easy vote later, or, you go for the duo, who at that point was perceived as being, I think, relatively tight. You guys talked about that a little bit for sure. Um, and yeah, it's interesting the way that that sets the tribe up, moving forward. Um, yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to think if there was any other like sneaky or like interesting things that were going on. Um, a lot of meetings, I mean, you guys had what, like 5 days, before between the challenge and tribal, which is, I mean, right, like Sunday to Thursday probably, or it could have been Sunday
Or
to
five
Sunday. It
days,
could have been a
something like
week.
that. Yeah. It was Sunday to the Thursday, yeah.
Thursday, yeah, because it was inside, yeah. Um, Pro tip if you're watching, if it's inside, it's a Thursday tribal council. Just
Yeah.
some behind the scenes tech. Um, but yeah, like there is a lot of meetings definitely that happened, and I mean we see this a little bit actually with the Doves, kind of going back to the idea of like the pacing of the game. Like they film this like one dinner that they have, but beyond that, like there wasn't a ton really going on, right? The pace I remember as someone who was like viewing the season, and Evan, you can probably speak to this, was like pretty uneven on the two sides. Like the Snakes were like meeting 2 to 3 people a day, like idol hunting, whatever, and the Doves were like, "Oh, we're having dinner. We hate the Snakes. Boo!" Like that was like totally like disproportionate gameplay at that point.
Oh, absolutely. And I think it just has so many ramifications just down the line of like when you have to start playing the game makes you so much more prepared or less prepared. I think that's even in why Real Survivor you see so many people struggle who like, they might get away with not going to tribal till the merge or something, then they're like kind of screwed at the merge because they don't their head's not fully in the game, you don't know how to play. So I think especially with the Dubs, it's always nice not having to go first to tribal, but there are consequences to waiting to start the game, I guess. But it was interesting.
Yeah, I'm curious, like Cameron and Vince, if you think if you guys had won, do you think the tribe would have reacted the same way? Like, do you think people still would have hit the ground running in that same? Yeah, Vince, you're nodding your head.
Yeah, that's a really great question. I think we probably would have talked a little bit more for sure. I think we're the strategists, and like everyone was really trying to get a foothold, and like, but also I remember that week like thinking like if I wasn't talking to like 2 or 3 people a day, like I was falling behind, like because like that's kind of how it was like that week. It was very chaotic. So, and I think that we would have seen a little bit of that even if had we won immunity.
Yeah, Cameron, do you agree?
Yeah, I think maybe names wouldn't have been said as much. I think
Mm,
people obviously if you're going to tribal, you're gonna have to say names eventually. So I think obviously the alliances started to be formed, but I think I assume because we're snakes, we would have still been going pretty hard. Yeah,
I also just don't even know if like the pocket emptying would have happened if you guys had won that challenge, if people would have been that
mm.
like
Hmm.
berberus about it. Because
probably
I know
still,
I
probably
like to
still.
think it would have. I
what
think
if some people
maybe.
after were still like, oh, I wish I'd gone further? Because I know a big thing. I don't think it made that. It was like some people thinking Vince had it. He'd had it in his socks at that point. Was like,
Right. At
I
some
was
point,
one of
someone was
them.
like, "Shoes, shoes." I was like, "Oh my God."
like we should have made him take off his socks. Like, so that was my favorite.
Crazy. Yeah, I mean, I think Lucas had the best spot in his wallet. Like, who's gonna say
Yeah.
empty
I
your
thought that
wallet,
was ingenious.
right?
That was awesome.
That's
I
why
thought
I'm
it was
happy I actually did end up. I wish I had a clue to the idol, but I had it just in my pockets, so I would have been screwed on like emptying your pockets.
Yeah, I
So it worked
mean,
out for me.
there you go. Especially, it could have been bad if like you guys ended up right if you kept it right at that point you
Mm,
would have gotten the disadvantage in the challenge right and then you're emptying your pockets and up oh Cameron had it right then at that
yeah.
point I feel like you're toast right like that probably was the right move for you there ultimately.
Yeah, I would have pretty much had to go on and look for the idol immediately. And if I didn't have it and play it, I think I probably would have gone. But that's like down a road that didn't happen, obviously. So
Yeah, well I know
Which I mean, it
hypothetical
wasn't that hard to
purposes.
find the idol, so you probably could have literally made it around it.
oh, I would have like immediate I wouldn't have like I would have just gone straight and found it. Like or gone and looked for it. I the clue looked kind of easy, but I
Okay.
would have
I don't know
obviously
if
there
I'd
would
watch
be
the
some people I'd
episode.
be racing to. So I would be
Oh,
like I wouldn't care about like if people saw I had it, I would probably just go right away and do it. Like get it over with.
Yeah, I
yeah, I
mean
don't know if like watching the episode and you saw how easy the clue was. It was like, oh, come on. I think especially it was like it was like, okay, Evan's not gonna make the clues on his own this season. It's gonna be like a team effort.
I mean, I remember coming into the production side of things, that was something that I cared a lot about because of the countless hours that I spent looking for an
Yeah,
idol in season 3 that just like
you're
it
right.
kind of existed, but it didn't exist in the form that I like expected it to exist in. And so coming into season 4, I was like, either it needs to be a tangible thing that they're looking for, because in season 3 they were like flyers and you had to like read the
Mhm.
flyers and pick up on the survivor words in the flyer, which like
And
whatever, we
even
don't
reading
need
the
to get
clues
into
back,
that.
even that I was like, these were kind of insane.
But
Like, why do we? Yeah, they're gonna get this.
oh yeah, okay, sure. So I was like, either it needs to be a physical thing, or we need to be explicit about the different things that it can be, so they know what they're looking for. And idols really didn't come into play in season three. Spoiler alert, I guess a little bit, until like the very end. And so I think heading into season four, we were a little bit more intentional about wanting to make them findable. This
Yeah,
was a conversation I was having recently, actually, with Eli, one of the other film people and producers on the season.
yeah. And it is
But
so hard because UCLA is so like now we're just talking production, but UCLA is so well man landscaped that like they're always cleaning campus, so it's hard to just like leave something out because they'll just throw it away.
right,
So
exactly.
hence it's like buried.
Right, right. There's always that. But yeah, like it's in a way you'd kind of rather make the things findable because it's honestly
Mhm.
more interesting to see the game play out with these factors in play. Like, sure, idol paranoia is fun, but the actual play of an idol is much more interesting than the mere paranoia of its existence. So I think it's exciting that Iman finds the idol, especially in the first episode. And we can also talk about Elena finding her idol, the idol dance. Right. I laughed at that. I thought that was so funny. It's so cute.
Yeah.
Um and yeah, so we see two idols found right off the bat, which is interesting. I mean, I think looking at the dubs, right, we definitely see um that Elena is like playing a little bit more, right? Like she took the clue, she went to find the idol. Definitely she kind of gets that perception that she's
She
a little bit
also like she hid the clue really well, putting it like between her phone and the phone case. I was like, oh, that was really smart. I didn't even know she'd done that to watching it back. So yeah, no,
yeah,
she's definitely playing.
yeah. Okay, so those are all the idols. Let's talk more about the people. Because yeah, there are a lot of conversations that were happening. So I just want to know like what your guys' perceptions were of different people in the game. And then Evan and I maybe can speak to a little bit our perceptions of people at that point in the game.
And it should be initial perceptions, right?
Yeah, yeah, at like
Yeah.
episode one, like day one, day three, whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do we want
Vince,
to
you
go
want to
name
go?
by name? Do we want to
Yeah,
go?
I
Sure.
mean,
Let's
there
go
was
name by
definitely
name.
some characters on our tribe for
Yeah, okay.
sure.
Just say
Um,
name and we'll go with it.
Right. I mean, so alphabetically, I believe Annika would be first. Um, Thoughts?
She
I
was
re-
someone I originally talked a little bit to on the first day. We're both from the Bay Area, so she was someone I was like, oh, okay, this may be someone I can like get to know. I wasn't sure yet if I could work with her yet, but as the week kind of went on, it seemed like that was kind of one of the people I could trust. So yeah, trustworthy, I would say.
Yeah, Vince. She names you at one point of like Vince and I are good. Like
Oh yeah, yeah. It's like I thought at first, to be honest with you, that was like the first day. I was like Annika, like she's kind of an odd person. And then I got the opportunity to hang out with her one on one, and we had a nice conversation. And yeah, I think we just like really kind of got to know each other a lot better, and just kind of opened up to each other a little bit about our lives, and I think that really helped us get a little bit closer. And yeah, like I thought after that she was pretty cool and definitely someone I'd be interested in working with in the future.
yeah, I mean, I don't remember what production really thought at that point.
I
Um,
remember we knew she was like Survivor craze. I know she
right,
has
I
the
just
Survivor
the Survivor
tattoo.
tattoo. Yeah,
I
that's
remember.
like
I don't
what
know if
I
she
think of.
like hid that from you guys, or she like let you guys know she was a big Survivor fan. I don't know how open she was with that, but that's what I remember the most.
Yeah, yeah, and Vince, actually going just back overall to like thoughts. Like you have this confessional early in the game where you're like, I don't know if I like fit in with these people. I almost like there was part of me that wanted to for no reason, but name the episode Fashion and Shoes. Like I thought that confessional was just so funny. You're like, I don't really like fashion or shoes. Like I just thought that was hilarious. Do you feel like that quickly like took a turn? Like you find yourself in an alliance, right? Pretty quickly, but you
Yeah,
definitely
like
had that
literally hours
initial
later.
like nobody likes me, like kind of panic for sure.
Yeah, I think a lot of that was just kind of like first, initial jitters, and like that was like really the first time I had spoken to anyone. So I mean, obviously I'm not going to know them that well, after having like talking to them for like 20 minutes. So yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Cameron, you're next, so I guess we can skip you unless Vince, you want to share your thoughts on Cameron.
No,
Do
yeah, I
do
think
tell, do tell.
Yeah, I mean, I thought Cameron was like a very, I think you could tell he was a very aggressive player. And especially from his put like from the puzzle at the challenge, and then he kind of got a lot. I feel like he kind of got a lot of the heat, maybe rightfully so for the pocket dump out. So I just thought kind of Cameron was a very aggressive player, maybe a little bit too aggressive for that early in the game. That was kind of my first impression of Cameron.
Yeah, I mean, I think I
Fair.
would agree. You were very. There are people I would rather work with than Iman. Like I think I'm gonna start quoting that. Like
I need to
coming
go
up.
back
Like
and
I'm
listen
using
to
this now.
exactly
Cameron,
how
did
it's
you
said.
say, were you the one, and I might be totally making this up, who said on your application you wanted to play like Russell Hantz? I apologize
No,
for making this
I
up.
said my favorite player was Russell Hantz.
Right. Such a bummer.
So it does indicate a more aggressive style, but I knew he doesn't play a winning game at the end of the day. So I knew I wanted to like take some of those elements.
Yeah.
I think that's why, pre-casting, like that's why Snake is most likely my tribe. So
No, there's no question what tribe you're going to be on. Don't worry.
That was a fair.
Evan, if you at the first tribal council, if you would have asked what player on this tribe is most like Russell Hantz, pretty sure 7 votes would have been for Cameron, maybe 8.
Well, you did what you were trying to do, I guess, for sure. Okay, next alphabetically, I think is Iman. I'm like trying to pull these names out of my brain. We already talked a little bit about him, but definitely had a big threat perception right off the bat.
what did you think, Vince? Because I kind of said I thought he was a threat, but what did you
Yeah,
think?
I like obviously he's very kind of energetic and he was like very kind of really social and fun. And I could tell right off the bat that like there's something about that type of personality where he was like just very like behind the scenes. I could tell he was just a very intense and like really wanted to win, and he was kind of manipulating everybody by putting out that persona. Like he was very intentionally putting out that persona to get on people's good sides, and so that immediately let me on to maybe this guy is like really taking this really seriously and he's not showing it, which is something I need to look out for in the future. And
Yeah.
Iman, yeah, Iman was my like he was the number one person I thought had the idol clue. To be honest though, I wasn't really sure who had it, but if someone asked me if there's one person who has it, who do you think it is, I would have said Iman.
Yeah.
I would have agreed with that analysis.
Well, he had the idol, so wouldn't have been wrong.
Yeah. But
Next
also
is
like part of that, I think part of that, like his energy and funness, like was also very genuine, and I really
mm,
enjoyed him for that. And it was great to meet him, and like obviously we became alliance mates right there, right after the episode. So I did enjoy him a lot, and yeah,
Iman definitely brings an energy to the game that is memorable, I will say.
definitely.
Um, yeah, okay. So Izzy's next. I mean, we've talked about Izzy. She was our boot queen. Something else that I think is so funny is like afterwards she's like, I asked them if I could vote for myself and they said no. And she was like, but I wanted to vote for the biggest threat and I'm the biggest threat. I thought that was like,
Yeah.
you didn't play like that, queen. Like respectfully, like yeah.
I guess we could talk about Izzy from the casting perspective more.
Oh
I
yes, I
loved
know
her. She was
you
one of my
mentioned.
favorites, like the most memorable casting audition tape I think I ever saw during my time there. Like she's just like in WeHo yelling at someone on the street. It's like a 60-second video, but I totally got it. I totally thought she was gonna be like a Sandra type. She just had that like id-gaff energy to her. So that's the kind of villain role I kind of saw her in. And she brought the id-gaff, just not in the way I was like expecting.
She did bring the id gap. Yeah. Yeah. Do you guys have any other thoughts? No, not
Yeah,
really.
I
Mm,
mean, she was a really nice person on the first day, and that's like most
Mm,
of the time I talked to her. I didn't really get too many other opportunities to. And I think I just saw other people were potentially more motivated to play, and that was one of my considerations.
yeah. Okay. So then we have Lena. I was talking to someone, I forget who it was. I think it was someone who watched the episode and they were like, I oh no, it was someone who she ended up doing confessionals for her later. Um, but they were like, I love everything she says. Sometimes I can just like watch her and like listen to her speak, and it's like I have no clue what you're saying, but I need you to tell me more. Like I filmed confessionals for Lena at one point. I think probably soon. And yeah, she just talks, and it's like she knew nothing about the game coming in, right? She has this like Amanda Parvati reference, and she's like, what? But like she also talks so eloquently about the game in her confessionals, like talking about how like she's like, oh, you can never like trust somebody too much, you know, or you can always trust someone too much. Like, don't trust anyone. Like, you know, these very like reflective things on the game, coming in knowing like nothing. Oh, my connection. Am I back?
Yeah, I'll say she was someone who I kind of like, again, just a really cool personality, really nice, but I was like, okay, maybe this is like an act and maybe she's like hiding how good she is. So I was like, she could be a dark horse in this game. Like she could, make us all think, oh, I'm cool, laid back. Like, but I thought that she did have a strategic edge to her as well.
Mm.
Yeah, I kind of had the same perspective, Cameron, except I had the opposite where I like just believed that, and I just thought she wasn't into the game that much, and
Hmm.
like maybe like she didn't really know a lot about the game. I didn't really talk, or when I did, I kind of had a short conversation with her, I think, and it was just kind of like I didn't really get a lot out of it. She like a lot of strategy out of it. So I kind of believed it. I thought she wasn't really a strong player at the beginning, and I think from the episode, you can clearly see that I was wrong about her for sure.
Mm. And then, Evan, did you want to say something?
Um, For Lena, yeah, I think I would have been more in the Cameron school of thought if I was a player in the game. But also, she so much just has like resting survivor face to me. Like I don't think I would have just believed she didn't know anything about the show. Like she
Mm.
just has this like cool girl factor to her. Like, oh, I just want to be your friend. At least when she talks, she's so warm. So definitely, yeah, I like Lena. She's great.
Yeah. Okay. So next, Lucas. I like, I don't know. I know Lucas. I love Lucas. I think like during the season, like watching him, especially this first episode, he's just like, I don't know. I didn't see him as like the biggest factor in everything that was going on. But then when you're watching the episode, I feel like he's a really great narrator of a lot of the events that are occurring in the conversations that are happening, which I think like really shows his like awareness of the game at that point. Thoughts?
Yeah, I was definitely drawn to Lucas a lot. I thought like I thought we were really similar in like in terms of our strategy, and like I think he was very like subdued, like he kind of brings a very chill energy to the game, and he's also like very aware of what's happening, but he doesn't really publicly make that like doesn't really publicly reveal that. Um, and so yeah, I think me and him like had a good relationship right off the bat. So yeah.
I agree. He was like a very cool guy, and like he was one of the people actually I felt really good about during the first week. Again, you don't really see it, but we had some really good conversations. I will say they also didn't get into the episode. I don't know if it'll come out in future episodes, but he and Vince were also, or in my talks, they also came up as a pair. So I don't know if that'll come out later, but I think people did see that they were two similar personalities and potentially as well were maybe working together. So
Yeah. Evan.
Yeah, no, I think in the past when we were just making the tribes and stuff, we were a little worried. It was like Vince and Lucas are like chill guy of the tribe vibes. What is, but
Was
it was kind of beautiful. Yes, I think so. I remember we did some.
I was gonna say,
Lucas at
wasn't
least was
Lucas
one
the
of those.
one who got moved
Yeah,
onto?
Lucas might have been on one draft on the dub. And, he was kind of a more borderline player, but it's like we
Yeah,
have this theme north with it. So, but then he took the clue. I was really surprised. I feel like if I was one of the players, he would have been the last one I guessed that he took the clue too. He just has that very trustworthy demeanor to him.
yeah.
So
So
I
good
was trying to
so
remember who who ended up being the replacement that we added. I couldn't recall it, but I do believe there was a world where Lucas was on the Dubs. But yeah, definitely, it seems like
yeah,
Snake
for a
was the
brief
right
for a
pick.
brief moment in time, yeah,
Yeah,
obviously
yeah,
worked out the best.
yeah. Okay, next is Nia. Love Nia. Um, I think Nia was one of the people who, I mean, I filmed confessionals for Nia. It was very clear to me she was so like in the game. She was like, okay, like these are my people. Like I'm working with this person. Was very like ready to hit the ground running. She was one of those people, I think. But yeah, I know like Vince, she was in that group with you. Cameron, I don't really know what your like relationship was with her right off the bat.
We had some good conversations. So, I mean, it was funny. There was one on before everyone split apart on the first day of challenges. Me and her were walking next to each other, and I think this was right before the four split off, and the four went in the car ride, and me and her were just walking next to each other, and Vince was in front of us, and we both saw we were two of the people who were on the sock theory where maybe there was something hidden in his sock, and we both pointed it out.
Mm.
So she was someone who I think I underestimated. I didn't really think, oh, this is someone who's very strategic and just someone who's pretty cool and who I was like, okay, this is a nice person. This is someone who I could maybe work with.
Yeah, I think that was kind of I think that was kind of one of the reasons why like she kind of got a part of our four group because like Lucas was also very intentional about his gameplay. Nia also was like kind of like very intentional about it, and I really was like drawn to the fact that she wanted to play this game. So that's kind of like one of the reasons why I wanted to work with her.
Yeah. I was surprised she didn't take the clue, honestly, in retrospect. But I don't know. Evan.
No, yeah, me and I are good friends, and she like an hour after the episode texts me in all caps like, "Oh my God, this is gonna take over my life." And I was like, "Yeah, well," so because she was already so enmeshed, I think it felt like a lot of people liked Mia and wanted to work with Mia off the bat.
Yeah.
She was originally supposed to be on. She was gonna be an alternate for season three, and then because we had someone drop out day of, and I called her and she just didn't pick up the phone, so it went to someone else, and so that's why she's on season four. And I'm really glad it ended up working out that way because I think I like her story and how she interacts with these people in the season a lot. So
Yeah, honestly, I don't think that was really shown a lot in this episode of just like how much people liked her and how much like kind of really cool energy that she gave off. And that
because
was
she was
kind of
also chatting with the girls, and yeah, she
yeah.
was
She
a
chatted
good
with
friend.
me. Yeah.
Yeah. I remember like filming Confessional and being like, you're gonna get yourself caught in a really hard spot really fast. Like, be careful. But you can't say those things. But I definitely remember having those thoughts for sure. And then lastly we have Vince. Vince, you're here. Cameron, thoughts on Vince?
Seems like
Um, I know me and you had conversations the first week. I think our first one was with Lucas as well. And so I thought I felt closer with Lucas than I did you. I don't think we had a really genuine one-on-one. And I think I was also kind of suspicious of you of idol stuff. And so maybe that's partly why I was, a little wary of it. But, a really cool guy as well. And I think the first day, maybe I felt a little bit of your awkwardness, and maybe that's something. But then as I got to know you more, it's like, oh, okay, no, this is a really cool guy.
I mean, the first day is scary. Like the
Yeah.
first day is terrifying. Like I don't know how much like that really gets channeled into the episode, but like I remember for me, I was like walking up to I think my spot was like the back of Moore or something. And I'm like looking around. I'm like, where are the other people? How am I gonna know? Because that season we didn't wear our colors on the first day. So I was like, how am I gonna know who I'm looking for? And I was a freshman. I was like more neurotic than I am now, I would like to think. And yeah, like it's scary. And it's like, yes. Yeah, it's scary because like you don't get a redraw. Like these are the people that you're playing the game with ultimately. Like you can't change that. Yeah. Um Another thing that I think is interesting is like I don't know how much the tribes like had perceptions of each other at that point. Like I don't know if you guys had like thoughts about the doves. I mean, they didn't like you, but like
Oh, we didn't like him either. Or
yeah.
at least
okay.
that's we were trash before we even got to the mat at first. We were talking and we could see them across whatever that plaza is called. And they were like just like standing there all awkwardly, and they weren't really, and we were like full on talking, and so we're like, oh, they were just like gonna be awkward, not even like each other. We're like gonna have such better relationships, and then we find out they're doves and we're snakes, and it's like, oh, okay, maybe maybe the relationships are gonna be a little more in question with our tribe. So
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the
Yeah, we
vibe.
really didn't know that much other than we were just like we hated them for like just for being the other tribe. Like that was
yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Even
Happens.
even after you guys lost the first challenge, what I recall is people were still like, "Thank God I'm on this tribe and not that tribe."
The Iman definitely said that.
Yeah, like so.
That's
No, it was nice to see you guys bond so fast. Yeah, I think they were definitely a little bit more. reserved, just overall personalities on that tribe for sure.
Yeah. I mean, I think we did our job as casting, right? I think we can definitely say that
Yeah.
much. Um,
Snakes, doves, extroverts, introverts. Yeah, whatever you want to call the season.
right, right. We could rename it. But I do want to talk a little bit now. We're here like I think the season premiered like exactly 2 years after the first day of filming or something like that, which is kind of
Roughly.
crazy.
Really? To the
Um,
day.
yeah, I think like to the day. So I want to talk about like what it's like to watch it back because I know like for me it was very surreal. Like I didn't finish my season because I was like, I know what happens. I don't need to watch it.
Never
Um,
watched. Fair
well, yeah, but like like it's weird to see like a younger version of yourself, right? Like do you feel like you would have done things differently? Is it exciting? Like and what is your like reflection on that experience without really saying too much?
Nah, it's crazy. Like and yeah, I wasn't sure what to expect at all, especially like with the production. I didn't know how production was gonna piece things together. And it was just, yeah, it was really cool, and it was great to like see everyone again. Because especially now, it's been a few years, and people have graduated, and a lot of people are in different places than they were, and it was so great to like get some of those memories back. And like I think personally for me too, actually, like going on Survivor had like kind of sparked a really interesting period of my life that's still continuing to this day of just like a lot of personal growth and discovery and like being on Survivor really changed my life. Like from that moment I was on it. That's what I consider as that period. And so like I was kind of watching myself at like the beginning of like kind of the more like kind of the person that I was 2 years ago. And that was a really cool thing to see.
That's crazy. Cameron?
That's a great answer. I mean, yeah, it was one of the best experiences of my life because I also personally grew a lot and got to meet some amazing people. And I also came on, like you just said, maybe it looks like I'm an extrovert, but I'm a pretty introverted person. This was me like pushing myself, doing something that I'm like probably would never be comfortable doing.
Mm.
And it was a lot of fun to like, be able to be an animated person and, not be able to hide some certain opinions of things. And so it was like a really great time.
Yeah, and Evan, you stepped into the host role, even though, you had a stint in season three. But
Yeah,
this was
not surprised, but
right. This was really, really your first like big moment, on camera,
Mhm.
like you're there fully in person. Looking back, like what was that experience like for you?
Yeah, first like I pop on screen. It's like me as the first shot. I was like, why was my skin so good back then? Like, no, it was definitely interesting to see. I'm glad to hear such like I do think, Survivor or UCLA is like a very beautiful experience. You get a lot out of it. So it's glad you guys got so much community out of it and such. But it's definitely interesting to see, here I sound so young, you feel so much younger watching. I was like, oh my God, I'm only 2 years older, but it feels like worlds away, especially being in your post grad life now. Um, but it was fun to see for sure.
Yeah, I know like for me, I mean, watching my season back, right, was weird. It aired when I was a third year and I was a freshman when it filmed, right? Like that's strange. But watching this season back is like actually very nostalgic for me. Like it was my first time on production. And I played a big role in the casting. So I felt very invested in like everyone's story on the season. And I had a big hand in a lot of the twists that we'll see throughout the season. And like to watch it back and kind of just remember that first day, like the jitters, like it's so exciting and like to look back like there are so many people from that season and like from the production team that I just have like such fond memories of filming this season. And so looking back and like getting to watch that now, especially as we're starting to film another season and like yeah, it's definitely like very present in my mind as we're continuing, the legacy of Survivor at UCLA. Before we wrap up, I want to do one last thing.
Yeah.
I want everybody to choose a player of the episode. Obviously we're not really gonna do any predictions because everyone know what happens, but just maybe think a little bit about your pick of who that might be. I know for me, I can go first while I let you think. I think my player of the episode is probably Iman. Um, there definitely could be some debate there. There are a couple other candidates. I would say Elena would probably be up there. Um, I think socially, you could also argue that potentially Mia is up there, which isn't super showcased. But I think Iman like has this really these big moments. He's definitely like kind of a main character in a lot of ways, right? He finds the idol. And ultimately, right, yeah, his name is thrown out a little bit, but it pays off. The attention completely shifts. And he finds himself in alliance, right, despite kind of being what I'm phrasing. Despite being someone who's like, yeah, like seen as a bigger threat by like literally the people who are in the alliance, he still finds himself in an alliance that remains loyal to him. And he leaves with an idol. He is the only person who kept the clue. And so for me, I think that's probably my player of the episode. Anyone want to go next?
I was gonna say, watching it back, he gives main character energy. So I mean, it's hard to not give it to him. He gets an idol. He gets away without major suspicion about that, and you know, boat goes one of the ways he was wanting it to go. So
Yeah.
Yeah, when I was watching it, I was like, Iman, 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 star of the show for sure. And like I was watching it with the episode with my family too, and they all loved Iman so much. So
you guys have to do a confessional count for for the season. I'm sure in the episode season he'll be good at it. So
Yeah, I'll definitely I'll keep track, or I'll ask Karina. Yeah. Evan, do you have a different pick, or are you on the same page?
No, I think Amon's great. I'll be contrarian though. I'll just say Lucas. I thought Lucas did a good job of really nesting himself in the alliance. He has a duo. He's part of alliance. I mean, same game as Vince, but everyone knows Lucas at least doesn't have an idol, and Vince, you kind of had that lingering suspicion about you that'll follow for a little bit. So, yeah, I'll give it to Lucas.
Yeah. Okay. So 3 for Iman, 1 for Lucas. Maybe I'll keep a tally. It's like the Fishy Awards, if you're an R-Hop fan.
Whole teams.
Um, right, right. Okay, well that's really all we have for this week. We're looking on like at a great season coming up. So thank you guys so much for being here. Hopefully, maybe you'll be back on an episode later to discuss more about the happenings. But yeah, I just want to thank you guys so much for being here. Any final thoughts before we sign off for the night?
just excited as everyone at home to see how it plays out.
Yeah.
That's
I'd like to ditto that, but also I hope the people at home are rooting for the snakes because snakes are better than doves.
Mm.
And if you're watching at home, leave comments on the YouTube.
Yes, comment,
We got
like and
one comment
comment.
about Vince so far. Vince, I don't know if you saw it, you got mentioned in a
Oh, there's
comment.
only
Oh, all
one.
right.
No, there's three, but one's like, I really like this Vince, how this Vince guy's playing the game. Something I didn't quite do.
YouTube comments are crazy. Actually, I should go read them. But
Yeah,
anyway,
Yeah, I'm gonna do that after.
haters. I want our haters to come back. Where are they?
they will. They'll
Um,
emerge. The
Careful what you wish
episode
for.
it's picking up traction for sure, for sure. But yeah, thank you guys so much for being here. And remember to tune in to episode 2. New episodes every week, Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific time. No one cares about Easter. That's all for now.